the thing is all about financial literacy. You have to teach and keep giving information to SMEs. The more you take loans, the more you have the ability to take more loans. Don't spoil it at the first instance, then you've created a bad credit history.
Micro, small, and medium enterprises account for 48% of Nigerians' gross domestic product. They are critical to job creation, the acceleration of economic activities, and driving activities in the retail sector. Despite the opportunities and economic distribution of SMEs, they still face challenges such as access to finance, infrastructure, regulatory bottlenecks, a complex policy environment, and multiple taxation among others, as aforementioned. However, access to finance is a major constraint to scaling of MSMEs in the country, as the double-digit interest rate regime from the banking industry has led to the development of alternative funding sources. Hello everyone, welcome to WebTV Focus program. I am Gabriel Jude from Lagos, Nigeria. And today we shall be addressing the gaps in MSME financing in Nigeria. And my guest today is Mrs. Chidinma Lawanson, Managing Director and Founder, Springtyde Renee Limited. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. Thanks for having me.
All right, so before we begin the conversation proper, let's quickly have some videos from MSMEs business owners. Let's hear from how they have been doing in their businesses and their orders.
Thank you.
We have a major problem in financing small-scale businesses, particularly if we want this economy to grow. We must look at that segment of the market. The MSME is the engine of growth in any economy. But the MSMEs cannot grow when we have a high interest rate regime. Okay, I wonder how many businesses can survive under a regime where interest rate is so high, except for buying and selling, commercial businesses, people buy and sell, import, except we want to continue to encourage importation. If we have to encourage the productive sector, interest rate has to come down.
We just need like small encouragement to make things come down. Yeah, because if the market is not too expensive, you'll be able to use like 200k to buy something meaningful ahead. But now, if you take 200k to the market, you cannot even buy anything. So things is too expensive.
Anybody that give you loan in this country we are, even though you place 70% of the loan or even interest, appreciate that person.
Government should do good thing. That you people now that we are doing trading on streets, this trading on streets. But now, look at it now. They are building the building. So and to get shop now, at least going to 5 to 7 million naira. How can government do it for us? Because it's government property. The government, this is not post building. It's government that told them that they come and do something. Without government, they can't do it. So we are pleading for the government to assist with traders that we are also on streets. We work on walkway. This is walkway area. So we are pleading the government, if they can afford the shop to us, to will that we are doing trading on the streets. At least we pay small. So if the government can assist on that, we'll be happy. We are voting for them. When the time of voting, they will call the marketer. They will not allow us to sell markets until we vote. How can we gain a shop without money? So a little money that we are putting. At the end, they tell us to go and bring a big cash. Where is the money?
So the banking sector cannot be collecting rates above 20%. How can they make it? It's an invitation to business collapse if they collect monies at that rate. We cannot also talk about encouraging SMEs without looking at the state of our roads, the road infrastructure. Vehicles coming in from the north, they spend days on the road because of bad road. Okay, rainy seasons, vehicles going or coming from the east, going through Edo State is a nightmare for them. You see trucks falling and so on. So this economy cannot go. And most of these trucks falling are this SMEs trying to transport their goods from one location to the other. So if the road is not good, if the roads are not good, how can the products move freely? So you can imagine if they even if they collect the loans, okay, and their trucks get and falls on the road, okay, they have lost whatever and income that they're going to get from those goods, and there is no insurance. So it's not if you give them this road, government should deliberately have insurance to mitigate their losses. So the bane of most SMEs when they encounter problems like this, they incur losses without having an insurance to fall back on. So you start a business, if it falls, you don't have anywhere to go to. Okay, and you are forced to also pay back the loans that you have collected. And it becomes a case of, okay, look, it's either you pay or you die.
Right. So before you react on the video, let's talk about a definition by National Bureau of Statistics, because we really want you to talk about that video. We could see that there are some comments. It looks like aggressive comment. Talk about infrastructure, that is road, high interest rate, and insurance for businesses. But then the National Bureau of Statistics define MSME as businesses of between 10 to 199 employees, with assets of between 5 million to 500 million, excluding structures and lands. Do you think we still need to redefine MSME in this context, including nano businesses? What's your position as regards to this definition?
Okay, thank you, Gabriel, for that question. I'm of the opinion that there are many nano businesses in Nigeria. And even Smedan has suggested that we create that level that for nano businesses, they employ 1 or 2 staff, and their turnovers are about 3 million. Because those level of businesses, they will not necessarily have buildings or equipment. But if you look at so many businesses, look at the creative sector, content creators, how many staff can they really have? They may not have up to 10. When they are running appropriate businesses, they may have 1 photographer, 1 videographer, 1 field person. That's even a lot, because they do most of the work themselves. I'm just taking one aspect. And a nano business that is doing microprocessing of cassava to gari is a microprocessor, but they may just have 4 people working with them that will translate that dry cassava to gari. We should not disregard them or think they are so invisible that they don't form part of the economy. One, they are creating employment. And from that, they are also part of working the engines of growth. Because if you have so many of them in millions and they are contributing their quota to the GDP of the economy, that needs to be strengthened. So I agree with Smedan that there should be a lower level definition. It might be harder to learn to them, but at least that definition is there so that you can create products that speak directly to them.
So if I get you correctly, you're saying that NBS need to redefine MSME in their definition to capture nano businesses and people, not looking at those numbers of employees as it were. Well, let's talk about the access to finance, which is a major challenge for SMEs in Nigeria.
Yes.
And so looking at the aspect of securing loans, which people talk about high interest rate, collateral, lack of collateral, and all of that. So it leads to, not getting the loan at the door. So how do we look at some sustainable ways and means of having these loans for SMEs, especially when it comes to scaling up business?
Central Bank has done a lot in trying to make it easier for even the SMEs we have now. Since we have not defined nano credit, the nano businesses, just the micro, small, and medium enterprises, because many of them do not have the traditional collateral structures that we think of: equipment, real estate, brand new vehicles, things that they can really provide to traditional lenders, I would say. But that is why there is now the movable collateral registry. So those who are in the agricultural sector can use their farm produce, they can use their livestock as collateral, and it's approved. Or if you put your cocktail of stock together, stock hypothecation, or vehicles that you can register. In terms of stock hypothecation, some companies have gone further to say if it's a lot, we can have a warehouse manager to say, okay, we will not have below this volume of stock and we can lend to you, and it works. You have cars that you utilize for the business, although they are fairly used. Some lenders accept them, not many traditional lenders, but non-traditional lenders. And then there's been the fintech industry that they started off lending to individuals, but you find out many of the individuals that go to the borrowing platforms are actually small businesses. They are not just employees in a company. Many go there as their source of financing their micro businesses. They might want 500,000, but they will put in their own names. So it seems as if you're lending to Gabriel, but you're lending to AB and Gabriel and Sons, because to the person, that's the fastest way to go, because the fintechs are using other lifestyles. Any data they have on you, maybe you borrow airtime, there's some ways where they can put together that data and they have access to it to say that your movement using your phone, you always move from here to there. So if they go to your shop, they know that this is where you go, you work, this is where you go. And then when you run out of airtime, you borrow and you pay back. They'll use that as a little way of looking at your lifestyle and lend to you. Although the flip side is that the non-performing loans on those lending platforms are quite huge, because sometimes people take advantage of it. But there are the credit guarantee schemes that central bank also brings in to incentivize the financial services sector to lend to SMEs. So there's the CBN credit guarantee scheme that they guarantee 70% of such loans. Or if you look at Development Bank of Nigeria, they have their own impact credit guarantee that supports 60% of loans to SMEs. So all these are to incentivize the lenders to lend to SMEs. When we talk about the high interest rates, it also falls back sometimes on us. We're the ones that put in the savings into the financial services sector, and we look for the best interest. But it's the same organization that has to lend it out. Obviously, they have to make a spread.
Okay.
And when they think of the risk of the SMEs, sometimes not holding brief, but they'll say it's riskier to lend to the SMEs than maybe to lend to BUA. I'm just using him as an example, because he has created credit history over time in billions of naira. So it's safer to lend to him, but due to potential loss of the loan, the SME is seen as risky. So the question should be, how do we de-risk the SME so that the interest rate regime will be lower for them? It's a cat and mouse game sometimes.
Let's look at the significant constraints of MSME to scale in Nigeria. How are lenders, especially your organization, incentivized to provide credit at a single digit to the MSME?
Yeah, the single digit regime is sometimes very difficult. For Springtyde Renee Limited, we are state licensed by the Lagos State Ministry of Home Affairs. So they look at our books and they've given us the license. So we're a money lender. So we make sure that we work according to the to the policies of the Lagos State government. So we do not take deposits. So we're not allowed to take deposits. So we use internally generated funds from internal resources to lend. So we have to ensure that we're lending carefully.
It's quite bogus. It's quite.
Yes, you have to have enough capital to lend, because then as people repay, you're expanding your portfolio. You get from other family resources, from other lines of businesses to expand your cash flow to lend. But it's okay. So it's not that we're complaining. There are many licensed money lenders because we're an alternative, right? Some call us just-in-time lenders. So it might not be that we're necessarily lower in interest rates than the commercial banks, but probably lower than the microfinance banks. So in terms of what you said about single digit, sometimes we've seen that it is international development organizations, maybe the World Bank, the IFC, and the other international NGOs that come in and incentivize the fintech organizations and the commercial banks, giving them 0% funding. Maybe asking them to put in their own funding, they would ring fence it. So the cost of that funding typically comes down so much that ring fenced capital can be lent out in a single digit. But for any bank, any commercial bank you can think of in Nigeria, their cost of funds is high. They pay salaries, they use solar to power their ATMs. So their cost of running businesses, they are paying lots of licenses that they need to keep ahead. So they would need to build in making profits and a spread between what they give at savings interest rates or fixed deposit interest rates and the lending structures. So the higher the risk, because there might be opportunities for non-performing loans, they would increase the interest rates. Is normal financial sector business. Yes, it affects the MSMEs, but if we have robust policies, as they are saying, to improve other sectors or bring in these guarantees, then it incentivizes the lenders to lower their interest rate because there's another company that is absorbing the risk for you. So the de-risking reduces the interest rate.
Okay, so quickly, before I talk about business registration, how do you deal with trust?
Yeah, lending is really not an emotional thing. That's just the practical side of it. Having come from the banking industry to international development, now to lending to SMEs, you have to work with data. Even the fintechs work with data. Down behind that app, a lot of data is running, crunching about you. What do we know about you? It can be like looking at your social media tract. What do you do? Where are you seen? Where can we see you? So it's a two-way trust issue to say, okay, I will lend credibly. To say, maybe you're a small manufacturing concern, like I said, maybe you're a microprocessor, you translate the cassava flour into gari, but you may have some small equipment to do that. It may not be what we think is very large, but it has a for sale value that we can look at. You may have white goods in your shop. You're running a cafeteria, so you have industrial gas cooker, you have a freezer, you have a fridge, you have a curved TV. You have something that if you put it together, it can have for sale value that I can lend to you. So it creates trust between us and our clients, and we know that, or they know that they don't have to have traditional collateral structures because they don't have it. But we have to look at it, visit your area of business and be sure that we're not just emotionally lending. That's when we would create the non-performing loans, which you don't want.
Let's talk about the complex business registration processes. I've been hearing people say the processes are very complex and very difficult. I don't know of now. The recent, fiscal tax reforms that which support the MSME.
Yes.
How can we make this an easy way for SMEs?
I can really give credit to the Corporate Affairs Commission. Within the past 3 months, I've done online registration of like 2 businesses. just sitting on my desk. I didn't need to call a third party, put in what is the name, they'll give you a time lag, approve it, you upload your documents, voila, you have a company that is registered. Then you have to register and put in the TIN. So they will give you a TIN. So you're ready to even start paying your taxes. That's my personal view. But I think part of the problem is having those who have the time to upload documents. Sometimes they get agents to do that, but there have been success factors in that. Maybe availability of data for people to sit down and really be on those government platforms. But I can tell you from first-hand experience that they do work. So it will be to expand digital platforms or where people can access it. Those who quickly don't have access to the correct network, that the data would work in a remote space. But that is, I think a lot has been done in that area. It's not 100%. There are some slight delays, but it works.
I like the fact that you comment the organization responsible for this before you begin, but then what have you seen that needs to be addressed?
And sometimes the response time can be a bit delayed. And in some other countries, the ease of doing business, they get all that in one day. So you can arrive their country and you're ready to move and do businesses. So the timing can be better improved.
So what is your take on credit guarantees?
They are a really important part that both the CBN and other organizations, international development organizations, they come in and de-risk lending, especially to MSMEs. So they would provide those guarantees to the lenders, the banks, the fintech organizations, the microfinance banks to say, hey, go ahead, lend to SMEs. In a portfolio management, if you lend this amount, we guarantee that we'll repay you 70% of it if it goes bad. That's what credit guarantee does. So for the Impact Credit Guarantee Limited of Development Bank, that's 60%. They're saying they will repay you. So that frees the lender, the commercial bank or the microfinance bank or fintech organization to lend to SMEs. Some people would say that from the SME side, if they know that there are guarantees covering this, they will also not be willing to pay. So somehow unintentional circumstances is that you will create bad loans because the SMEs will say, okay, another organization is guaranteeing 70% of this. Why do I need to worry?
And who will not take the risk?
It is the company that did the guarantee. CBN in this instance, or Impact Credit Guarantee or International Development, they would repay the bank 70%. So, but the thing is all about financial literacy. You have to teach and keep giving information to SMEs. The more you take loans, the more you have the ability to take more loans. Don't spoil it at the first instance, then you've created a bad credit history. Your business is not stopping at this level. You may need 1 million naira today, tomorrow you may need 10 million naira. But if you keep repaying 1 million, 2 million, then you can get higher. But if the first loan you've been given, you didn't pay, then you are into you have bad credit scores, then it's harder for you you will now complain that you don't have access to.
So as we wrap up quickly, how do you see embracing digital technology in place of AI, digital marketing, social media, and all of that coming into MSME scaling?
For them to scale up.
Yeah.
Adopting the digital tools obviously makes SMEs scale up. So they are not limited by their physical environment. Those who have, like these shops we're seeing, is those who have footfalls that come into there. But if they are on social media, there are many areas where they can do digital marketing. This is the shoe that I'm selling, and somebody in another location can buy it, and it's just a delivery cost that they would all both look at. So embedding that, this is simpler that people can adopt. Not many have reached the point of actually overlaying it with AI. Let's even start with smaller social digital, but yes, media marketing, that they have access to that, and immediately the whole of Nigeria is their customer base, not just where they are. So that helps in that instance.
Okay, so before I let you go, in just in 1 minute, right? what would you say to someone who is stranded doing business to access to finance?
Look at many options. If your commercial bank is an option, fintech organization, microfinance bank, state licensed money lenders, look at those options before you give up, because one of those options will lend to you.
All right, thank you so much. I didn't hear you say that come to our organization to.
Because I'm trying to wear a very big cap, but come to Springtyde and Renee Limited, and we will lend to you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, and we hope that next time when we call you here, we are prioritizing the household SMEs and making sure that things go well in terms of business and economy in Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. All right, and that will be all for this edition of WebTV Focus program. For more information and knowledge on finance, the market, banking, the economy, and investing, please visit the brochure website, WebTV YouTube, and follow our social media platform displayed on the screen. Moreover, if you have any concerns or questions about what we do, please do well to put them in the comment section, and that will be appreciated. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I am Gabriel Jude, and have a great day. Bye for now.